far back it goes we don't know. There are obviously Bram Stoker, who wrote Dracula, picked up on it, because Highgate Cemetery is a focal point of the Dracula legend. He comes with Dr. Seward, there's Lord Holmingwood, and he comes with the Texan, the other gentleman. They're friends of Lucy Westenra, who was bitten to death by Dracula, and they go to Jack Straw's castle on Hampstead Heath and walk across the heath to the cemetery where they put the stake in the vampire Lucy Westenra, and then they go back across the heath to Spaniards Inn, where the highwayman Dick Turpin used to hunt about. We'll be talking a lot about Dick Turpin. I don't know if you've heard of him. They have made films. He became famous through a book called Rookwood in 1850. Supposed to have rode his horse Black Bess from London to York in one night to get away from the police. There was a guy on a horse with a mask who used to hold people up with guns, but he became a bit of a legend like Robin Hood apparently. But he was in the newspapers at the time, but he was nothing like Robin Hood. I don't even think Robin Hood was like Robin Hood. I wouldn't take much notice of the films. There's three subjects they treat really badly: Robin Hood, Sherlock Holmes and Jack the Ripper. They bear no resemblance to the truth. Well, anyway. As they said when one of the books on Jack the Ripper came out, American detectives and police said this back in the 1920s. Leonard Matter's book, they said, bears as much resemblance to reality as Jeremy Muskrat and Peter Rabbit do to zoology. That's what I think of most of the Robin Hood films. And Jack the Ripper. Now, back to our story. In the early 1970s, in 1969, January 1970, many people around the cemetery of Highgate claimed they seen a malefic ghost who came and attacked them through the back lane, the Swains Lane exit. A large, about 7 foot tall, in 18th century costume, canalled hands, white hair, would hover through the gate. Many people reported this. But there were lots of Victorian ghosts in Swains Lane, and several writers wrote in and said there's a fellow with a tall hat, and when the bell rings, walks through the wall and down the lane. There's a ghost of a man on a bicycle comes up, and the ghost of an old lady in Victorian costume, which I've seen myself. The ghost of a lady who's looking for her murdered children, the children she murdered in Highgate Cemetery. Also, there's the ghost of David Devant, the Victorian conjurer, magician, who appears in Swains Lane. So whether this was mistaken for the ghost, we then had a film crew, the Hellfire Film Club, who claimed that they had been doing a horror film to do with vampires in the cemetery, and everybody was lulled into the idea that it was a misunderstanding. But the members of the public knew the difference between somebody dressed up as Dracula and the real thing. And I think that the fact that there were dead foxes and a man who was attacked and found drained of blood with little holes all over him in the following year in 1971, the police said he committed suicide. He stabbed himself to death with a knife and threw it away. Yes, well, you won't kill yourself if you stab yourself in the back. All the bones will stop the knife going through to vital organs. So this is nonsense anyway. But then again, there was the lady who was mentioned in the Camden Journal who was attacked, and a man stopped the car, saw this figure with a white face and dark hair bending over the body in Swains Lane. He grabbed him and pulled him in the car, took him to the police station. Well, if it was the film people, why didn't the police investigate the film company? No, they decided to arrest Mr. David Farrant for sticking stakes in vampires and anybody else who was involved. When it started, Alan Blood, a schoolmaster from Essex, got several hundred people and he attacked the cemetery, but they got frightened by seeing something cross the road and something going, and it could have been one of the other ghosts, but he got nervous at something. And they all dispersed. So David Farrant and Sean Manchester got involved, and they were on TV talking about what they were going to do. Mr. Farrant was arrested several times, not Mr. Manchester, and I got involved in 1973, and it got even more involved after that. So there's a lot more of that to go through. There was the fact that Mr. Farrant was a white witch, or so he said. He was certainly a witch, and I'm a natural psychic, and I was also a witch. I'm an occultist magician of every angle and facet, Crowley, everything. I've studied it all. So, a bit of everything. So I'm well up in that. And so we were involved in in this investigation into the psychic phenomena. And when we were getting involved, we had a problem. Be quiet, bag. It's going to start making a noise now. The witch in the bag there. Be quiet, witch. And we had problems that the local newspaper decided to drum up the story by getting a dead cat and going down to Long John Baldry, the pop singer, and claiming we killed his cat. And cats are sacred to the goddess Bast. You don't kill cats. That's nasty. So anyway, so they're lovely pussy cats. I like pussy cats. Very fond of pussies. Pussy cats. Depends on which way you interpret it. Anyway, so he got nasty, and he got down a fella called Graham Bond, who was a magician, who decided he was going to get nasty with me. So I retaliated and put on a curse on him. Long John Baldry went to America, and Graham Bond jumped in front of a tube train at Archway, shouting the demons are after me. Well, the story continued, and I was granted the title in 1979 King of Independent Witchcraft. In between, David Farrant went to prison. I'm going to show you the newspaper articles. He was, they tried to have him for something else, that he was desecrating the cemetery. We got all these pictures of black magic symbols. When it came to the court case in 1974, his ex-wife turned out. She said, no, she said, they're not Highgate Cemetery. That's Kensal Green Cemetery, taken in 1962 by our friend Arthur Hill. So the police case started disappearing. And then they said, ah yes, but he had his father's revolver without a licence. So it was a technical excuse. But the newspaper said graveyard scenes, you know, desecrating. And so when he came out, he sued the newspapers and got a lot of money out of it. Because he'd gone away for having, took a couple of years for having his dad's revolver without a licence, not desecrating any tombs. Because all the pictures were somewhere else. But people still say they see the vampire. In the last couple of years, it's been claimed to have re-seen it. I've not seen anything up there. I never did see anything there. However, I got some more pictures to see you, because I did when I was in Transylvania. I've been to Transylvania twice, and I went in 1999, and I stayed in a hotel in the mountains of Transylvania overlooking Brasov. And there were a lot of bears around there, actually, bears. Some parts of America, I seen on they call them birds, and they call the birds bears. The birds are coming down. That's the hillbillies, I think. But there you go. And so I was up there, and I got friendly with these people in the market, and they asked me where I was staying, and I said that one up. What room? I said 555, and they said to me, get out, bad luck. Go and get another room. Bad luck, that room. Ah, it was superstition. Took no notice. It's not long into the holiday, but not too long before the end, and I woke up in the middle of the night, a door banging somewhere woke me up. I turned over, and my arm was bleeding. You know, in the middle of the night in Transylvania, somebody says, that room's bad luck. What the hell's nothing's gonna, how do you scratch your arm in bed in the middle of the night? It's nothing. No, it's